Hello everyone, welcome. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but it's about learning from how to dance in the rain. We all experience failures right from our childhood. We have been conditioned to believe that all success is positive and all failures are negative. However, experiences are never black and white. It is a color palette or a full rainbow. Each color is an experience that must be enjoyed, lived, and felt. Remember that if you are failing, it means you are working, you are inventing, and doing something different. Therefore, we have built a platform where we not only share our experiences but learn from others' mistakes too. So today, it gives me immense pleasure to announce the launching of our new social media and blogging platform called Failwise. So we welcome emotions, experiences, various journey, and people who don't want to share. So we believe in helping each other and growing together for the betterment of the society with a collaborative learning process. And in the same direction, we are also organizing tough talks, that is Tell You Fail, where selected people from various parts of the world will be invited to share their part of the journey and experiences. So we are honored today to have Dr. Prakash Baba Sahib Amte and his wife, Dr. Mandankini Amte, with us to inaugurate our website and Tough Talk. Welcome, sir. Welcome, ma'am. So they are philanthropists, doctor, teacher, caregiver, as well as a great animal saver. They have devoted their entire life to the development of the tribe of Maria Gons. They were inspired by their famous father and Magsaysay awardee Dr. Baba Sahib Amte, who worked tirelessly for the upliftment of leprosy patients and successfully established Anandavan in Chandrapur district of Maharashtra. Dr. Prakash and Dr. Mandankini, they left their comfortable life and moved to the dense forest of Hemalkasa village at Gari Chiroli district of Maharashtra and established the Lok Biradri Prakalp, which is an organization that provides free healthcare assistance to the tribe and basic education to their children. They lived and worked there for almost 20 years, performing emergency surgical procedures and many medical assistants without any electricity and basic facilities. The hospital now provides healthcare to more than 45,000 individuals every year at no cost. Patients from more than 1,000 villages spread across three states, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Chhattisgarh, covering an area of around 200 square kilometers and visiting there. The Lok Viradi Prakalp Ashram School has over 600 students, residents, day scholars. He has also established an orphanage for the injured wild animals, which is called Amte's Animal Park. His diligent service to the humanity has been recognized by many prestigious awards, like Lifetime Achievements Award from ICMR in 2019, Magsaysay Award for the community leadership jointly with his wife in 2008, which is also called Asia's Nobel Prize, Mother Teresa Award for the Social Justice in 2014, Lokmanya Tilak Award jointly with his brother Sri Vikasji Amte in 2012, Godfrey Phillips Lifetime Achievement Award in 2009, Padma Shri by Government of India in 2002, Adivasi Sevak Award from Government of Maharashtra in 1984, and many more awards from various organizations of different parts of the world. In 1995, the Principality of Monaco has also issued a postal stamp to honor him and his wife. So he has also published two autobiographies, Prakash Vata and Ran Mitra, uh, as well as there is a biographical film named Dr. Prakash Baba Amte, The Real Hero, was also released in 2014, showcasing his life journey. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and joining our platform today. We are really honored to have you and your wife with us today. So with this, I would like to start the discussion. So, sir, every child has some dreams in their childhood, and you you must be having some dream on your during your childhood. So can you please tell us something about your childhood dream that you thought like this could be your childhood dream?
Uh, Actually, it's the other way around. We had the Baba Amta started work for the leprosy patient in Chandrapur district, which is he named as Anandvan. So that time the prejudice about leprosy was so high in the society.
Yeah.
But as after say about 10 years, after this, people from Maharashtra started realizing the importance of Baba's work. So they started visiting Anand. Many famous personalities, Gandhians, because Varda was not so far. They came from Varda and then from Pune and then Mumbai, and then a lot of people started visiting Anandvan, and we were just observing the meeting between Baba and those big people. That was the childhood memories. Our education was in Marathi medium in a simple municipal.
Yeah.
But somehow after matriculation, we decided to join Baba's work. Preferably, if we get an admission in medical college, we can become medical graduate and do the Baba's work little bit scientifically. Baba was a lawyer.
Yeah.
We were just training in Calcutta School of Tropical Medicine. There were limitations. So we thought, well, if we get admission in Nagpur Medical College, then Baba and I, though they were worried about our education, about our lack of ambition. But when we got admission in medical college, both were happy that now that at least they would complete the education and then join Anandvan. Yeah, that's in 1970, we appeared for final MBBS exam.
Uh-huh.
Waiting for the result and come back to Anandvan.
I see.
And that is how our journey
started.
Without any expectation, it started from a picnic. But when we started in our four-wheel pickup van,
I see.
It took us almost 2.5 days to reach this place. We slept there in the night, and next morning, Baba said, "Now that we have come to such a beautiful place, let us see, explore the area."
Yeah.
So he took us to the first village, a tribal village. We had never heard of this tribe's name. His name is Madia.
Yeah.
Madia tribe.
Yeah.
And is one of the most primitive tribe of India.
Okay.
And as soon as the vehicle reached the village, maybe about 20-25 huts were there. But all the villagers, they came out of their huts.
Yeah.
They were scared, terribly scared, looking at the vehicle and the people who got down from the vehicle.
Yeah.
With so much of clothes.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to have some dialogue, so we started walking towards them.
Yeah.
One by one, all of them ran away in the forest. That was the first experience of Madia tribe. So there was no dialogue at all, but we could see from a distance that there was tremendous malnutrition in the area. And the children of the tribals were having pot belly, big ball.
Yeah.
Thin bones and pot belly and all these things. So we could observe that there was a malnutrition, and not many old men were there in the villages.
I see.
So that few observation.
I see.
So by evening we reached to our place, Bamragad.
Yeah.
Lit a fire there.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite cool.
Okay.
So, we all, about 8 to 10 were family members were there. So we're just thinking in our mind about the impressions of the day.
Yeah.
And then Baba thought that nobody's talking, so he started talking to himself, loud thinking.
Okay.
Now he was just talking to himself in a way that now that you have almost passed MBBS exam,
yeah,
becoming medical graduates,
yeah,
and you both have decided to join Anandvan.
Okay.
So after looking at the condition, Madia tribe, that should do something for this tribe, make them to the mainstream, teach them farming or vocational training.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, so I cannot start a hospital here.
Yeah.
This thing I can do. And you can both join Anandvan and look after the The project, which is more or less well settled now. The prejudice has come down.
I
A
see.
lot of visitors have started visiting Anandvan and all that.
I see.
And then next moment, as soon as Baba said this thing,
Yeah.
next moment I said, Baba, if you start the work for this guy, I will carry on the
Right.
work. And I could see the spark in his eyes.
Yeah.
I was so happy to get my word.
Yeah.
That is how, turning point in my life. Exposure, I mean, I always tell that exposure is important. Unless you see the situation yourself. The government figure is that 30% of the population live below poverty level.
Right. Right.
Most of these people from cities, they don't realize this. Baba being a different person,
Yeah.
though he was the son of a landlord and he had all the facilities, racer car and big bungalow and 400 acres of land and all this. But taking inspiration from Gandhi, freedom fighter, he
Yeah.
became a freedom fighter in 42 movement, he took part in all these things, that changed his life.
Yes.
Even he stopped his lawyer's practice. He realized very early that in this practice, you cannot give justice to poor person. Those who have money get only justice. So he stopped his practice as a lawyer, joined politics briefly, municipal politics. But again, a man like Baba couldn't, accepted by the local politicians. So then he saw a leprosy patient by the side of a road and he was scared looking at a disabled man with no fingers, a lot of injuries and maggots in the wound and all these things. So he really got scared and he felt guilty about it.
Yeah.
So I myself called a fearless man and I got scared with a man who was helpless in fact.
Yeah.
Did not harm me.
Yeah.
But just looking at him, I got scared. So to win over the fear,
Yeah.
we started Anandvan, Maharogi Seva Samiti Varora. That
Yeah.
is the name of the institute.
Yeah. I heard of this.
So that was the turning point in his life.
Uh-huh.
And this was a turning point in my life.
I see.
So we went back to Anandvan and our results were out. We both passed our exam. The internship started, 1 year internship.
Okay.
And Baba said that before going to start internship, now that you have decided to start a work in Hemalkasa, please write to government of Maharashtra to give us a land here to work. So we prepared a application. Our internship completed in December 71.
Okay.
But there was still no reply from government of Maharashtra.
Uh-huh.
So what to do now? So yes, we decided to do the work in this Bhamragarh area, but there was no land to start the work. So I joined post-graduation, passed our MBBS exam, and then while doing this post-graduation, I came to meet Mandakini then, and probably our wavelength matched. Baba was progressive that way.
Okay.
So Mandakini, I brought Mandakini to Anandvan. That was her first visit. So she saw the Anandvan first time, and then Baba said that Prakash has decided to work for the tribal in a Bhamragarh area.
Yeah.
And she immediately said, she told me, and I have given my word to him.
Yeah.
Then Baba realized that she has decided to get married to Prakash. Then the wedding ceremony was totally breaking all the traditions. Our wedding was very nice, short wedding. Was finished in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Next day after the wedding, we went to Tadova National Park, which is not far away from Anandvan. And then I brought her here. I wanted to show her the area. She completed her diploma in anesthesia in Nagpur. I was doing my MS General Surgery.
Uh-huh.
And on 23rd of December 1973, government of Maharashtra gave us a land. I came back to Hemalkasa and constructed a small hut there. Okay. Baba was there when I came here, and then since he then knew that I am going to stay here permanently, so he went back to Anandvan.
Okay.
He went back to Anandvan. And Mandakini was, by that time, she was lecturing anesthesia.
Uh-huh.
And some days she resigned the job.
Okay.
She joined. From day one, Mandakini took charge of the kitchen. Nobody complained about having no electricity or had to live in a huts because we had a mission,
Yes.
inspiration to do
Yes.
something for this country. That's these people. We have seen that they have no clothes to wear. Number one, we have so many clothes. They have no food to eat. They have to every day. They have to go to the forest, collect tubes, roots, uh, hunting. Initially, we didn't know what kind of animals they hunt or the birds they hunt. But then finally, we came to know that they had no choice. Anything that moves, maybe it's ants. We used to make chutney of ant. We used to run after the rats and any animal. This was a thick forest. Bears and monkeys and whatnot. I mean, whatever animal they used to trap in a net, community hunting used to kill them and share it. As compared to their life, our life is so nice.
Yeah.
We have sufficient rice to eat, sufficient dal, good clothes to wear.
Yeah.
So why to complain? That time of that type of a logic, basically logic to live in this
Right.
place.
Right.
So why should we complain?
Yeah.
So we used to move from village to village, just walk down, observe their life.
Yeah.
Though they never stopped to talk to us, but at least we could observe them from a distance.
Yeah.
The next problem was the language.
Okay.
They had their dialect, spoken language, Madia dialect,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was totally different from our Marathi or Hindi. Not a single word was similar to our language. So that was a bit frustrating. How to get their confidence?
Yeah.
How? So we studied their culture from a distance, basically. What do they do when a person becomes sick? So every village had a village quack or whatever you call it, village doctor or a quack, or here they call it pujari.
Okay.
Pujari in the sense that he also used to utter some mantras
Okay.
because they also believed in black magic.
Okay.
So uh, that way, every sick person they used to take him to him.
I see.
They used to ask for local liquor, mawa liquor,
Yeah. Yeah.
as a fee,
Yeah.
and some chicken or goat for sacrifice to please the god.
Okay.
Animal sacrifice.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we heard that they used to have had a human sacrifice.
Oh.
That was really shocking, in fact.
Yeah.
Sacrificing a small baby to please the god.
That's sad.
Really, it was really very frustrating, it was shocking.
Yeah.
But that was their faith. They were
Yeah.
living in that, customs and faith and all since ages.
Exactly.
So, so how to, that was frustrating. How to win their confidence. So
True.
the first barrier was language.
Yeah.
But fortunately for us, though we started our first clinic underneath the tree,
Yeah.
but two doctors coming from a city,
Yeah.
both medical graduates, these some of the government servants
Okay.
at the lower level, I mean forest guards and contractors, they knew that doctor had come here, and there was no hospital for them also. So if something goes wrong with them, they used to rush to the clinic
Yeah.
and tell us about their health complaints.
Okay.
So we used to treat them, and same time, Mandakini prepared a dictionary of a local language. Since they were living here in this area for a long, they learned the language of the tribal.
Yeah.
She prepared a language dictionary, small dictionary, simple words. What do we call for a name and the village and the distance and about the symptoms,
Yeah.
headache and fever and whatnot. I mean,
Yeah.
all these words she wrote down in local language, Madia tribe.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is how we started having communication with some of the people who stopped. And after some day, we realized, though it was frustrating, uh, we all thought that probably we were lacking in our efforts, to overcome the frustration. This way, if you think, uh, rather than quitting the job,
Yeah.
this way we thought that probably we are lacking in our efforts.
Yeah.
So we must do more efforts. We must learn language. We must study their culture. Why don't they come to your clinic?
Yeah.
When we realized that the local pujari,
Hmm.
more or less, he had more psychological effect on the patient.
Right.
Most of the cases which were minor illnesses used to get cured by their own immunity. As
Actually,
you see in Corona, uh,
naturally.
97% probably people gets cured more or less with their own immunity.
With their own immunity. True.
But here the credit used to go to the
Pujari.
pujari naturally because they had taken him to there.
Yeah.
So that continued since ages. But
Yeah.
those who were really sick,
Yeah.
who needed medicine, and they were not responding to his mantra, tantra, and his medicine,
Yeah.
he used to tell them that now you take him back. I have done my duty, and now he is not responding. Now only is God's mercy if he survives. So that way, that idea clicked to us that such patients who were sent back by the pujaris,
Okay.
we started requesting the parents, the villagers, why don't you give us a chance?
Yeah.
Just one more opportunity for you and more opportunity for us also.
Absolutely.
So I will tell you the two incidences that probably created a faith in the local tribe. The first one was from a nearby village. He was, as I told you, they sleep by the side of fire because of the cold. This particular boy had epilepsy. So during his sleep, he got an attack and he fell down the fire.
Oh.
10-year-old boy, 40% burn.
Oh my God.
So they took him immediately to the local pujari. He gave some medicine, he uttered some mantra, tantra. But the wounds got infected.
Mm-hmm.
First in his wound and then later on maggots in his wound. So when we had gone to the village, the boy was sitting outside his hut because he was smelling awfully.
Yeah.
We requested the parents, now that he was sent back by the pujari, why don't you bring him to our clinic?
Yes.
Since they had lost the hopes, they agreed to bring that patient. And that's how the first patient came. We dressed his wound, we removed the maggots, put some eucalyptus oil. It's a repellent, eucalyptus oil.
Okay.
The maggots come out of the wound after with the smell of this thing. Gave him antibiotic. Mostly penicillin, we use many penicillin injections that way.
Yeah.
Anti-epileptic drug.
Okay.
Cardinal was the popular drug that time. And within no time, the boy got cured because this was a virgin case.
Yeah.
They never taken medicine before that.
Okay.
That way, people were observing from a distance.
Okay.
Parents were, of course, there. And they were so happy that this boy got cured. Wounds got healed.
Yeah.
We requested the parents, we will adopt this boy. So he started staying with us.
Yeah.
We learned more language from him. We used to take him to the different villages with us.
Okay.
And more patients started coming.
Okay.
Just
because of
almost had to walk down, basically. Many of them got cured, basically, for minor illnesses.
Yeah.
But the local quacks were not happy about that.
Obviously, because they are taking their business.
There was some competition.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, luckily. Unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
His daughter got sick. She had severe gastroenteritis.
Okay.
So naturally, there was dehydration. He tried his own methods.
Yeah.
Some local medicine, but she didn't respond. So in the night, he was so worried about her life, and we brought her to our clinic in a hell of a night, We just had a candle, what do we call that? Hurricane lamp.
Yeah.
Kandil कहते हैं उसको, hurricane lamp. So we saw the girl was in a bad shape. Her tongue was dry, the eyes had gone back, sunken eyes and all these things. So we started saline, we gave her antibiotic. We watched the whole night. We knew that he was a pujari over
Yeah.
near. So They were just more worried about the condition of the baby.
Yeah.
But by the time in the morning, she was a little bit better. And then he said that we'll take her back.
Okay.
I said, no, she had to stay here. She's not completely cured.
Yeah.
The intention was that the people who come in the morning for our OPD would see that the
Yeah.
Pujari also has brought
Yes.
his daughter to the clinic.
Yeah.
So this type of little bit of enmity was there between the Pujari and ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
That less. So we didn't tell the people that you don't go to the Pujari. Because
Okay.
they were believing him since long.
Yeah.
That was their faith. So telling them was, we had no right to tell them.
Obviously,
But
yes.
we have got alternatives. And second test was, of course, it was probably, if you have seen the film, it's a man who was critical in a coma. They had done all their efforts, was finished, exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And then their relatives thought that you should take them to Hemalkasa.
Okay.
So there's new facilities now, new alternatives there. So young boys from the villages, we called them. They brought the patient on a bamboo cot,
Yeah.
tied some rope to the cot,
Yeah.
put a bamboo in between, and they carried him on shoulder. The
Yeah.
distance was about 30 kilometers.
Wow.
So 20 miles in.
Yeah.
So changing the shoulders, about 8 to 10 young boys, brought him in a procession crossing 3-4 villages.
Okay.
So most of the villagers from that region knew that a critical patient has been taken to Hemalkasa clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought that patient, put it in front of my heart.
Yeah.
Most of these volunteers went back.
Mm-hmm.
We were so happy that he was brought from such a long distance, 30 kilometers.
Really.
And next moment, we were so worried how to diagnose this patient.
Yeah.
There was no investigation. We didn't know their language.
Yeah.
Not much. Just clinical examination. The man was not talking. He was in deep coma.
Yeah.
We referred some books.
Okay.
We both discussed among ourselves what could be the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Finally, we decided probably this is a cerebral malaria. So that was a risk, of course, but the proper diagnosis we did that. So we started with quinine and a glucose on the other side.
Okay.
And all the while, one of the volunteers was sitting by the side of the patient. On the third day,
Mm-hmm.
the boy opened the eyes, moving his limbs and all these things. So a volunteer came running to us that how probably our diagnosis is correct. He has responded to the treatment. And on the fifth day, more or less he was all right.
Yeah.
He just got up, carried his cot on his shoulder, and walked back 30 kilometers.
Oh my God.
Everybody from that region knew.
Yeah.
And probably he would have died if he had not taken to Hemalkasa. But after taking to Hemalkasa, he is walking back.
Yeah.
That means he came horizontally and going back vertically. That was it's a dramatic effect on the people.
Yeah.
Such a serious patient got cured. And then, of course, more patients started coming in the area. There was no transport, so they had to either walk if they are able to walk, or carry on the shoulder.
I see.
Barefoot ambulance.
So that was your advertisement.
It's called the barefoot ambulance.
Yeah.
So then we were so busy treating the patients. It was again challenging,
Yeah.
because the investigation was not there.
Yeah.
And where I left my surgery, knew little bit of surgery, of course.
Right.
Mandagain, I was qualified anesthetist, but patients coming for the deliveries, patients coming for orthopedic, there are a lot of malnutrition. The bones are brittle. So if they fall from a tree or thing, there are fractures.
Yeah.
But how to diagnose fractures without X-ray?
True.
It was difficult. The patient only shows the swelling of the region.
Right. Right.
But, by the time we knew that they had tremendous tolerance.
Okay.
So I used to hold the limb above the swelling and below the swelling.
Okay.
Move it in the opposite direction.
Okay.
So if there is a fracture, so you could feel the friction of a bone,
Right.
fracture, and that would confirm my diagnosis. He has suffered a fracture now. He should be treated by giving a plaster of Paris immobilization. They got our plaster of Paris was with us. The diagnosis was confirmed in this way. We used to treat him, reduce his fracture, and give a plaster of Paris dressing, and that way save his limb, either a leg or a foot, whatever you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that way we innovated a method to diagnose a fracture.
Yes.
Same thing about deliveries. We're not interested in gynecology or obstetric in our medical career.
Yeah.
But when the ladies were usually they used to bring them on a cot. They had their own local guys with in the villages. But when the baby didn't deliver in the village, always the obstetric deliveries patients used to come here, and we had no experience.
Yeah.
Again, we took a help of books, brought forceps with us, and different things. So most of the things we did them first time in our life with good intention, of course. But we delivered the babies. People were happy. And of course, they could also do the deliveries in this.
Mhm.
But once
So
the baby was transferred,
yeah.
when they brought in the night, I could see the hand collapse because the baby was transferred. Usually, either there is a head uh, in the passage or a buttock,
Yeah.
bridge.
Yeah.
Here, there was a hand.
Okay.
So we couldn't do anything.
Right.
And we were not a gynecologist, there was no operation theater.
Yeah.
Either we could send them to the city.
Yeah.
There was no transport, the rivers were full.
Right.
So, except sending them back with folded hand,
Yeah.
saying sorry. And then the parents and the in-laws said, we had tried, our guys had tried their methods. She couldn't successfully deliver the baby. And now you say that you couldn't do this. Where will we take this back?
Yeah.
This patient? She would die.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then Mandakini and myself had some debate. Before invention of cesareans, you know, the older gynecologists used to do the destructive surgery. They
Okay.
cut the babies in pieces
Okay.
and remove the baby from the womb.
Right.
And then the lady had another chance that way. She
Right.
could have the chance and they would die, hoping that she would deliver normally.
Right.
So that was a method before invention of this cesarean. So we both discussed among ourselves.
Okay.
That was the only method we could do in this place. And then we talked to the parent, the in-laws, and the husband.
Yeah.
They said, this will probably save her life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there is a risk. It's a blind procedure. Cutting a baby in the womb, we may accidentally injure the uterus also,
Yeah.
leading to bleeding.
Yeah.
So, but that way, probably we can deliver the baby out. And she may have another chance.
Yes.
They said, okay, so whatever you feel proper in this situation, you do it.
Yes.
In the dead of a night, somebody holding torch, one is holding that hurricane lamp.
Yeah.
We did the destructive surgery. Yes, of course, I don't tell you the details. It's really just hurt me. But that way we removed the baby.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the mother survived. There was not much of a bleeding. In the morning, she said, now that my baby is dead, why should I stay here? So she walked down 25 kilometers
Okay.
back to the village.
Okay.
A delivered lady,
Yeah.
already the anemia is common in this area.
Right.
Plus delivery loss of some blood.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going back. But before going back, Mandakini told her, next time you conceive, you please come here regularly for checkup.
Right.
And in the last month, probably you get admitted here.
Okay.
We'll do the hospital delivery. And fortunately for us,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of guiltiness, you know.
Yeah.
She conceived about 2 years back after that first operation.
Right.
She started coming visiting hospital.
Yeah.
In the 9th month, we got her admitted here.
Yeah.
Like, and he delivered a normal baby.
Okay.
He was a girl child.
Uh-huh.
We felt so happy. Parents, of course, naturally were so happy about that.
Yeah.
That type of decision we had to take. Sending a patient back was completely ethical.
Right.
You are not a specialist. You don't have facilities.
Right.
But knowing fully well, sending them back means probably we are losing the patient and the baby.
Right.
In this case, probably you only lose a baby and she has another chance. So
Right.
that way we have to take a decision. It was really hard to take it.
Yeah.
But we took the decision, and probably she had 2 more babies after that. Normal delivery.
Nice.
Such, cases where so many we had to handle that because people came with a confidence and faith.
Right. Absolutely.
How can we say no?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'm not an orthopedician, I am not an ophthalmologist, I am not a ENT specialist.
Right.
So we never said no to anybody. We got some small instruments, books of different, the specialists,
Yeah.
and tried to help them
Yeah.
all these problems. All.
Right.
One more case, and then we can shift to another.
Yes.
A case of a bear bite.
Bear bite. Yeah.
A lot of bears in the area. They
Yeah.
go for community hunting.
Yeah.
If you kill a bear, it probably a whole village can have a feast. But bears in the forest are really ferocious. Something goes wrong.
Yes.
And if the babies are with the bear,
Yeah.
mother bear,
Yeah.
he is more protective and she attacks a human. So this particular man, I am telling a story, lives in a 60-kilometer away village, Huakodi, very long, on the hills. So he went to the forest and the bear attacked him. His eyes were punctured,
Okay.
both eyes. And the scalp went back and he was conscious. He was talking.
Okay.
So I washed his body, washed the skull. There was a lot of mud and leaves and all this. And then put back the scalp on his skull.
Okay.
Fortunately, the whole skin was intact.
Yeah.
So I told him in his language that to keep it intact,
Yeah.
for getting you cured, I have to give him stitches. He gave the first stitch.
Okay.
First stitch means two pricks,
Yeah.
two sides.
Right.
And he didn't utter a word
Wow.
of a pain,
Right.
So I got a little bit of confidence that he has probably good tolerance.
Yeah.
Started giving him stitches, one after another. So after about 100 stitches,
My God.
100 stitches, just casually asked, how many more?
Yeah.
How many more? And I said, now it's almost finished. I know that kind of tolerance, tremendous, you can't imagine. We gave him antibiotic, high doses of penicillin.
Yeah.
Within a week, I removed the stitches. There was no infection. He went walking, holding a hand of a relative.
Yeah.
60 kilometers. Next year, some more patients came from that village. Out of curiosity, I asked him, how is that bear bite patient?
Yeah.
He was severely attacked last year. And they sadly said, he died recently. How did he die?
Yeah.
He died in that severe attack. But he survived that attack, and now how did he die? He
Yeah.
said he died of hunger. Because he was blind, he couldn't go to the forest to collect his own food.
Right.
Relatives also had not sufficient food to eat. So naturally, he became so thin.
Yeah.
And he died of hunger. It was really shocking for me.
Yeah.
25, 30 years after the independence, blind persons dying of hunger.
Right.
So that has probably encouraged us to find out more cases of in the form of cataract patients. The old methods was very simple. You cut the cornea, remove the lens, uh, do the iridectomy and stitch, give a single stitch to put
Yeah.
back the cornea in place.
Yeah.
That way, of course, we studied a lot. Our all volunteers were helping me. We covered one room as an operation theater, sterilized it with formalin,
Yeah.
and one person to hold a torch and one person to wipe up sweat.
Yeah.
Step by step, I did the surgeries, dressed her. Next day, we opened the dressing. Again, all volunteers were so curious to see the result of the operation.
Yeah.
We removed the dressing, and fortunately, the eye was clean and there was no infection. And she could see, she could count fingers. We all felt so happy, so satisfied.
Yeah.
The operation was successful, and after 10 days, we gave her plus 10 outside lens,
Yeah.
plus 10 specs, 5 rupees cost just.
Wow.
And she went back walking independently. The blind people in the area came to know that they also yeah, restore back the vision.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That person started coming. I mean, this way we help them in all their health problems.
Right.
Sometimes successfully, sometimes, of course, you cannot save all the patients. But
Absolutely.
at the time, the people were accepted us.
Yeah.
If suppose one of the patients died of a illness,
Yeah.
either he had only brought them late,
Yeah.
either our diagnosis was incorrect.
Yeah. Right.
Almost 150 kilometers square kilometer areas, more
Beautiful.
than 1,000 villages, patients coming from more than 1,000 villages.
Wow.
No transport, but they used to walk down, used to sleep underneath a tree. My indoor hospital was outside.
Okay.
Indoor hospital was outside under the tree by
Yeah.
the side of fire.
Yeah.
So our round used to take from one tree to another tree,
Yeah.
examining them, sitting by the side of fire with them, and knowing about their illness, whether they are
Yeah. Yeah.
getting cured or not, whatever it is. But it was so informal.
Yes.
So informal. After sitting on a patient, patient is already on the ground.
Yeah.
So it was really a nice feeling. As I told you that initially we used to roam in the forest,
Right.
villages.
Yeah.
So initially, 74, I mean, first year of our coming over here, we saw a hunting party. We saw they had hunted a rhesus monkey. So we saw two monkeys were killed,
Okay.
and their hands and legs were tied, and they put a Bombay in between them, and they were carried on their shoulder.
Okay.
So when they were just crossing us, we saw a live baby suckling the dead mother. A
Okay.
very cute baby,
Really.
and we couldn't, resist ourselves, stop them. We requested them in their own language.
Yeah.
Can you spare this live monkey? We will save his life. Then they said, our children are hungry in the villages. What will they eat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just two monkeys, how can they be sufficient for everybody?
True.
Again, we realized what hunger is.
Yeah.
And next moment, I decided, I offered them, we'll give you rice in exchange of the baby. You
Mm.
just feed them with rice and dal.
Mm.
We started requesting all the tribals. So whenever you find any orphan animal,
Mm.
while roaming in the forest, or you had killed the mother
Yeah.
and the baby is there, so please bring the babies, orphan babies of any animal without exception.
Yeah.
We will keep them and give you rice and dal in exchange of. So
Right.
you don't have to sacrifice your food.
Right.
So they also understood and they were getting food in exchange of this animal. So next animal was a deer fawn.
Okay.
Again, no experience how to rear the animal, no experience, no veterinary aid, no books with me,
Yeah.
but trial and error, feeding them with love and
Yeah.
affection, keeping them right near your chest. All these animals, without an exception, are a member of my family.
Yeah.
Maybe hyena, crocodiles,
Yeah.
leopards, of course, everybody knows about leopards.
Yeah.
Bears, snakes, whether it's a poisonous snakes or a non-poisonous snakes.
Yeah.
Rattle, honey badger we have it. Porcupines are there.
Yeah.
All kinds of deers, birds,
Yeah.
eagles and kites and peacocks.
Yeah.
All they were orphans, basically orphans. I did the role of a
Right.
mother for all of them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't teach them how to protect them in forest. They are more or less humanized.
Yeah.
I told you, I can't send them back to the forest. Immediately they will be killed by either human beings
Right. Actually.
or other species.
True.
So all of them are really, but they are very happy.
You must have been disappointed sometime, were you? Or like you must have felt like, oh my God, I cannot do this, or like I want to quit now. So what made you stay in the field?
Number one, the answer of the last question, quit.
Yeah.
That we never thought. I mean, even Mandakini, though she was had to lead a different life. I mean, she was from Nagpur and then again, but never thought of quitting this. The basic reason probably, why not quitting. The decision was voluntary. The commitment was self-commitment. Baba never asked me to do this or that. Baba just exposed us to their condition.
Yes.
The decision was totally mine. Our was a love marriage. And before marriage, I told her that I am going to serve this area where there is nothing. And still, in spite of knowing all this, she said, okay, I will marry. And she never complained afterwards. So that is the second reason. So quitting was never came into our mind.
Yeah.
But frustration.
Yeah.
It cannot cure some patients,
Yeah.
Yeah, that you feel really bad about it. If they are coming from a long distance with a faith, with a confidence,
yeah,
and you are helpless sometimes.
Yeah.
So that is, you felt a little bit bad about that.
Right.
If somebody dies in a hospital,
Yeah.
Again, used to feel that one of our relatives had died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another thing was that not many incidents of frustration.
Okay.
Because our expectations were so less. Expectations.
Yeah.
Our demands were so less. Our needs were less.
Yeah.
So not only we two, but our volunteers.
Yeah.
They never missed anything of the city luxuries.
Yeah.
They happily lived in isolation.
Yeah.
There was no entertainment.
Yeah.
Nobody complained about that. And next thing that I always tell people, I learned a lot from tribal people. Selfless service. After some days, after studying their culture,
Yeah.
we came to know that they help each other right from ages. If there is some problem with somebody, all other persons try to help him. So when we realize that,
Yeah.
that little bit of hitch,
Yeah.
so we are totally enjoying this selfless service. We have never expected anything, neither from tribal,
Yeah.
nor from outsiders like you. देने वाला का भी भला, though this is charitable institution.
Yeah.
नहीं तो उसका भी भला.
That's so beautiful.
One thing from tribal. Second thing is that you see a lot of violence nowadays in a civilized society.
Yes. Yes.
In this background, tribals are more or less innocent.
Right.
So there are some problems in the villages, but they solve the problem with consensus in the village itself.
Right.
Second thing is that you hear a lot of things about rapes in India.
Yeah.
Recently, there was more case.
Yes. Yes.
In Uttar Pradesh.
Yes. True.
And in 47 years, we haven't had witnessed a single case of rape. It's a great, great thing. Living in India and not witnessing any single case of rape in this area, and not a single case of robbery.
Yeah.
In spite of poverty, in spite of hunger, nobody is begging in this area. There are no beggars. So
Nice.
these are some of the very, very good qualities, and not expecting anything from the people. Needs are very less.
Right.
So some of things, we can at least take something from them.
Right. True. True.
Forget about this blind faith, like
Yeah.
human sacrifice or
Yeah.
andhashraddha, we call it blind
Yeah.
faith.
Understood.
But we can also learn something from this good thing from their culture.
True.
So
Absolutely.
we have learned a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, what are those words from Baba that gave you the power?
Baba probably learned from from Gandhiji.
Gandhiji. Yeah.
Some ethics. If you start a social service,
Yes.
some norms. You must
Right.
have something. So Baba when started this leprosarium,
Yeah.
and he knew that these leprosy patients were beggars before coming to Ananda,
Right.
because they were given out from the society.
Right.
So naturally they were helpless people, but they were coming from different places,
Right.
different culture, different places, different religions.
Right.
Because leprosy is not restrict to any of this caste, creed, or religion.
Right.
Anybody can suffer.
True.
So to keep them as a family, Baba was a fatherly figure.
Right.
So basically, he himself was so disciplined.
Yeah.
Transparency. Basically, when you get a charity, donations from the people,
Yeah.
you must record it. Every penny must be recorded.
Okay.
Second thing is that money should be spent properly, not for on your luxuries.
Yes.
Even for the purpose and then spent for the same purpose. So that he, as long as he was alive, that he was very strict about that. Third thing was that so many ladies and girls and even the people living as a family in Anandvan
Yeah.
from different parts of the state and India.
Yeah.
You should have a discipline life. You should respect ladies. If
Right.
there is some problem with the ladies,
Yes.
so we used to punish them like anything. So the lady if lady had come with a complaint that this man has harassed me, yeah, hold my hand
Yeah.
with bad intention.
Yeah.
So we used to call him in front of everybody. We used to scold him or sometimes give him slaps, two slaps. So that if you don't respect the ladies and if you have no respect for the ladies, you have to get the punishment like this.
Right.
So this some of the things we learned from our childhood.
Yeah.
So at this institution here
Yeah.
in Hemalkasa,
Yeah.
we had another advantage. What was that advantage? That there were a lot of problems in the area.
Yeah.
But then as and when the problem arose,
Yeah.
we had nobody to advise.
Yes.
We had to take a decision of our own, right or wrong.
Right.
Because there was no communication to ask Baba
Yes.
on a telephone or go there on Anandvan and ask Baba, there's such a problem has arisen, what should we do now?
Yes.
So that has helped us to take a decision independently.
Okay.
And Baba's behavior, he was that once the children became, has taken over the charge.
Right.
He never used to say this or that. I mean, he had suggestions.
Yeah.
He never wanted to impose his ideas on us.
Okay. Independence.
That was a good thing about that.
Right.
So same thing we carried on our generation,
Right.
next generation,
Yeah.
and Baba's third generation.
Yes.
They lived with us in this forest. They
Right.
had teaching in the same school, tribal school. After completion of their education, both
Yeah.
of them, of their own, decided to join this project.
Right. Right.
Unfortunately, I am very lucky for that. Their partners are very good.
Mhm.
They are from cities. Elder daughter-in-law is from Goa and she is a gynecologist.
Okay.
The younger one is from Pune. She looks after the education.
Okay.
Then since we both, they were initially working with us.
Yeah.
After some time, we thought that they have sufficient knowledge, experience, confidence,
Yes.
taking over the charge of the institution.
Right.
And we both living here, very much in the institution. We are completely withdrawn from the administration.
That's okay.
We don't give them suggestion unless they ask.
Right.
There are very few incidences they ask us something about. they are solving their own problems of their own.
Right. Right. The freedom gave them more,
Yeah,
more
yeah, more
confidence.
confidence. Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it.
So the another question that I want to ask is like about the failures. Like there must be some failures in life, and that's where I want to ask you some that what are your learnings from those failures, and what is your the factor that help you to be resilient throughout the time. So tell us that learning your wisdom from those failures. Just give some, yeah,
Sometimes, if you have an expectation, this is a this is an institution. You first, you must know that this institution is without any label. This is neither Gandhian nor a political party nor any religion. Huh? The only religion Baba practiced was humanity. He was really actually he read about all religions. But he was more inspired by the compassion from Christian religion. He never believed in Christianity. Churchianity, he used to call them.
okay,
All
yeah,
this karma kanda, going to a temple or a church, and all, he never believed in it.
yeah,
Work is worship. His motto was work is worship. So that way, when we started the institution, when some of the volunteers joined this work, they all had different philosophy, different, everybody has a different. Uh, some are rightists, some are centrist, some are leftist.
yeah,
My colleagues,
yeah, yeah,
working with them was not so easy. Everybody had their own, difficult to keep them together, to achieve a goal, common goal.
yes,
Somehow, after some frustration, after some ego problem,
yeah,
we decided that if you want to run an institution, if there is some differences with your colleagues, one has to keep quiet instead of debating or satisfying your own ego. If my colleague says that I want to do this and I knew that this is wrong, most of the time I say, yeah, okay, let him have a trial. Instead of debating and then hurting his ego, so it's better to keep quiet. So that way, we decided this type of thing in the larger interest of the institution, keeping our ego a little bit low
absolutely.
and giving him chance, and he probably realized that probably Prakash was right. So next time he used to, naturally he would ask, what can we do now?
True,
So
true.
of course, we had developed this unwritten laws to run the institution.
Right.
Keeping all these volunteers of different
Background.
thinkings
Yes.
together.
True, true, true.
So failures, of course, is a part of life.
Yes.
But the goal for which you have come. So sometimes that frustration, you have to weigh the achievement and the failures.
Absolutely.
99 good things and one failure.
Right.
So that is probably hurting you more.
Yes.
But if you think more about that, so you just keep quiet. Time is a good healer. Let that frustration wait for some time. Or go for a walk with your wife in the nature. That is another thing. Going to a nature, sitting at the circumference without talking. Maybe sometimes you solve your problems. The frustration gets less. So that way, most of the times, keeping quiet is a good solution to get over the frustration.
Yes. Absolutely. So, apart from Baba, like we all have some ideal in our life. Like for me, it is Gandhi ji, Kalam sir, Swami Vivekanand ji. So, like apart from Baba, so who is your ideal? Like you always keep like them as a,
I think Vijay, it was,
yeah,
we came here at a very young age, at the age of 24 or 25. We couldn't visit many places in India, number one.
Right.
Number two, that we had not read much about any religion or anything.
Okay.
We read the books and all. To getting our vision more, broader sense. In the broader sense.
Yeah.
Though we did the work, but there were no plans in such.
Right. Right.
There were no plans as such.
Yeah.
We go to the doctor, so we start with a clinic and have a hospital. At the most, we have a hospital, which we have now. 50-bedded hospital, my son and daughter-in-law constructed. But one after another, after getting confidence from the people, they say, see, there is a lot of exploitation. People started coming from other problems, which we never expected. Exploitation by whom? By the civilized people. Those government servants, the contractors. They didn't know about their rights. We used to call them for work and just take the thumb impression without giving a single penny.
I see.
And then when they accepted us and they came as to tell us these things, we wrote to government of Maharashtra officers and our volunteers, and we sat together. We all decided that we should make them aware about their rights. We must give them education. That was the second project, and that's how the school started in '76.
Yeah.
The third thing was that they didn't know much about farming, a lot of malnutrition. So giving just education, formation is not going to solve the problem. So we must give them a little bit of training in farming, horticulture, how to grow vegetables. Without we didn't have that much of training of that, but at least basic thing we knew. So with that basic things, our volunteers started teaching them this thing. Then teaching about the rights. So they should fight for injustice. So one after another, one after another, the project was expanded like this.
Right.
It's a team, basically teamwork.
Right.
We got good volunteers, and everybody felt that this is their own project. It's like a family of 1,000 people living together.
Yeah.
650 boys. Now, of course, with the corona, they are in their own houses.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is a very strange situation.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the activities they were expanded like this.
Yeah.
And there's for 30 years, I mean, surprise, we didn't go out for a fundraising thing or telling people what we do.
Okay.
Either we could write good proposals. We should have a good language to write proposals to get money.
Right.
But since our needs were less, our expenditure on administration was much less.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to worry about the funding.
Right.
Anand was sending us some of the basic things. But when people started visiting Hemal Kasa, and they started telling other people that such and such work is going on in Hemal Kasa, world should know about it. Of course, everybody knew Baba's work. So that was not a problem at that time. But Hemal Kasa, what they exactly doing, that people started knowing after our 2003 program in America.
Okay.
And then there were more invitations for us.
Yeah.
All invitations in the form of dialogue, basically question. 2004, 5, and then Maxence Award came out in 2008.
Yeah.
More publicity.
Right.
More people came to know. That's how more funding came that way.
Right.
And then finally that feature film biopic.
Yeah. Real Hero.
In 2014.
Yeah.
Though it is in Marathi, but Maharashtra, most of the young generation, they have seen the film.
Yes.
Really inspired.
Yeah, it is inspiring.
Yeah. We could feel that.
Right. So when you see these people, young people who are doing and trying to change India, and most of us are really wanted to see a new India after this. So can you give some message to the youngsters, like we should focus on this? These are the factors and the life values we should focus on. And so what are your suggestions and message for that?
Living in a city, you always compare your life with those who are richer than you.
Right.
Money wise.
Right.
That is basically this is norms of a civilized society.
Yes.
और पैसा कैसा कमाना चाहिए?
Exactly.
और ज़्यादा पैसे कमाए. हाँ. And there is no end to it. There is no end to it. Whereas I tell you people that 30% of the population of India and almost 10 crores of people are tribal. It's a very big population living in a very poor condition. Huh? So exposure, basically seeing the life of a other side of India. City mein, you are living in city, you always compare your life with those who are above you. But at least once in your life before starting the career, if you go with your eyes and mind open to NGOs working for such people, or the life of tribal people or people living in villages, that impressions in your mind, subconscious mind, probably will sometimes in life those impressions will be there, and then you will realize probably whether to go for money in other unlimited way. Need and greed, which Gandhiji said once, you must live a good life. That means you should fulfill your needs. But if you have greed, there is no end to it. So this type, I always tell these boys and girls, you should not go to only to Anandwar or Hemalkasa. There are a lot of places working for downtrodden. Or even in living in city, there is a lot of problem in slum area. There are very many people living in poverty. So you need not go to a forest area or a villages. But living in a city, if you can find time and see the life of such people, that will probably change your life for the future. So as I have seen the result, we have not expected that, but we have seen the result. Many youngsters, they curtail their needs. So there is some change in their attitude. I don't know. I don't expect anybody to go to the forest and live in the villages. At least you should think about that. They are your brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
So actually, you should think about them. And at the right time, you may realize some of them may go and work for them, but at least part time you can work for them, living in the cities. Living in anywhere in the world, you can just have those impressions in your mind and try to help your brothers and sisters. That will probably change your life.
Yes.
That satisfaction will be very long lasting.
Yes.
People, yes, students, young generation, they find pleasure in either liquor or drugs. You know, that feel there's a definition of enjoyment, entertainment. But that is temporary. You have a money, you go and you buy the liquor or drugs. Once the effect is gone, then you are again frustrated. So to avoid that, you help even a single person. You can help. That will probably change your life. The satisfaction will be long lasting, and then you will think of helping more people.
So I would like to end the discussion as of now for here. And I would like to give the last few words for the talk. Like due to your continuous effort and the persistent will to give a change in the society, you brought a really great change in the Madia Gons tribe, and they earned a really better livelihood and a better now they are getting more integration into the modern society as well. And your life and struggles are inspiration for us, for all of us, and for most of the coming youth of the India. And thank you so much for your time and wisdom sharing with us. It is uplifting, and it made us realize that courage, determination, and mindset of service can change the world. So we all would like to do that, and that's what is our motivation. And thank you for your time and everything that you gave us so far.
Thank you.